But we can go ahead and get started here with some film of Jaiden Ausberry from this is his sophomore season. And we're going to let you guys see him. You don't need to see us anymore. He's number 20. So you'll see a film. Very instinctive guy. Somebody made a comment in the chat, and I think there's some merit to it. He does play high,
yes,
especially for a shorter guy. I do want to see him learn to play high. That's correctable. I think the difference is I would not say I don't want him inside because of that. I would just say it's something he needs to work on. And you'll see, too, from the film, he is now, here's something else that was interesting. Love the range there, Ryan. Let's get back to that. That's very rangy. So I don't know how accurate this is. And I'm going to have to do some asking around on this because I know he measured, usually these kids, when they come for official visits, they measure in. But On3 reported that at the Future 50 this weekend, he measured in at 6'2", 215. If he's 6'2", 215, that means he hit a growth spurt.
For sure, yeah. I would have guessed he would be closer to 6 foot than 6'2", to be honest with you.
Right. And on film, that's what he looks like. And I've always kind of the 6'1", 205 is kind of where you saw him. You see the really nimble feet, the really easy change of direction, goes low. And that's the thing is he plays high because his technique is there. He can go low with ease. Look how he dips down and just explodes to this ball carrier right here. That's a kid that knows how to go low. He just has to. The big thing is he's going to have to get a lot stronger, which is another reason I think Rover is the spot where he's going to start off. You see him coming off. Look at that instinct. Look at the explosiveness. He kind of finds that hole and just explodes through it. This kid can really run and close.
Closing speed right there, too.
Oh, yeah. Finish off the play. Right? He's got to finish off the play better. Because against a Power 5 quarterback, this is probably not a sack.
He probably shrugs it off.
Yeah. You got to close on that. But the disruption is the key. But he's very nimble. He's just undersized. Again, this is sophomore film for those watching, but he's very instinctive, Ryan. And that's the thing. You use the word eyes. I use the word, just kind of instinct, decision making. I mean, whatever you want to use it. The fact is, this kid is very decisive. He makes quick reads. He can diagnose incredibly well, in my opinion, and he gets to the ball in a hurry. I mean, in a hurry. He is around the football a lot.
Well, I'm very critical of linebacker play because that's the one that I played. So there's things that I look for clearly in linebacker play, and Jaiden has all those things. I mean, you talk about range a little bit, but so your first step when you're a linebacker is your trigger step, and he has a really nice trigger to kind of find the action. And the one thing I love, Brian, is when he sees something, he's going, man. Like he is shot out of a cannon. There's not bad, like guys with bad eyes will kind of stick in their trigger and then it'll take him a second to kind of diagnose and then explode. He's like an instantaneous player. Like he sees it, he trusts it, he flows to it.
Well, this play right here, I think, is an example. This is sophomore film. I would say he is a half a second late reacting to this, but he sees it, right? And what's going on here is the backfield action is trying to take him one direction, right? And certain keys are taking him one direction, but if you see these other pulling linemen, he's like, okay, they're trying to make me go this way, but he reads it, he sees it, and I'd say once he sees it, he's then like just a split second late getting out there, but then that speed that it just closing the football gets there, and he's really able to take off and get to the football and really in a hurry. And again, reminded this is sophomore film. We'll pull up some of his junior film here in a second. Really easy cover guy.
And he has, because people will look at the size a little bit and they'll say, but does he have power and physicality? And the answer is yes, because he creates so much explosiveness in such short spaces that he just creates so much momentum, man. And you'll see him, he delivers a lot of big shots in the open field. Like that one, for instance.
Especially as a junior.
Yep.
And there's not a ton of great film. There's a couple good films on YouTube where you can watch the whole game. We don't do that's just a hard thing to do in this kind of format. Highlights are better for this kind of format. But if you watch some of the game stuff, I mean, he can strike. And again, he's still undersized. He's going to have to fill out and get bigger and like be more violent with his hands. That's the one thing I will say I'd say the area he needs to improve the most. He's got really fast hands. In the film I've seen, he's got to get more violent with him. Like, he tries to kind of use his speed and athleticism and instincts and all that. He's going to have to get a little bit more violent with his hands when it comes to block destruction.
I agree with that. I think block destruction just in general, because I think one thing, Brian, is I would say that I think his length is a little average, maybe even
Mhm.
slightly below average. So he's a guy that, to gain that extension, you're going to have a physical style as far as your ability to take on blocks and then to be able to shed blocks too, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big
I
thing.
do like his arm length. I think I don't think he's really broad, and he's obviously not tall, but I do like his arm length, especially when we get to his junior film. You'll see it's taken up a notch a little bit, but he can run. But the point is, even if I'm right on the length, Ryan, he's still 6'1".
Yep.
He's still good. I mean, when he fills out, he's going to be what, 225.
Oh, for
He's
sure.
always going to be an undersized guy if he moves inside. The point is the leverage, and then being more violent with his hands is going to be a very, very important thing,
Yeah.
because you're not going to
And
have him just anchoring, taking on, second level guards.
mhm.
You're always going to want him to get off those blocks. It's not like a 3-4 defense where your job is to crash the guard. I mean, you're going to want
Right.
him getting off. That's how Marcus Freeman's defense is. I would imagine how Al Golden's is. You have a responsibility, but your responsibility is get to the ball, not eat up blockers. And that's what you're going to see from him.
Oh, I love a special teams highlight blocking
Yeah.
too. That's big time.
His brother Austin's, I think, played a lot of corner for them. He's a good player. He was more of a safety.
I love number 20 for a linebacker. I don't know why. Just looks fantastic to me.
Is that what you wore?
No, that was what Pete Werner wore, though.
Gotcha. There you go. There you go. I know you're very high on Pete Werner. Understandably so.
I love Pete, man. Love Pete.
Like that's good block destruction technique, but it's not real violent.
Yeah.
Like the shed is
passive.
I'd say the shed is good. The stack isn't, right? And that's where he's going to have to get better at.
Someone asked Brian. I mean, so he's playing at University Lab, and someone asked about the competition level. They play good teams in Louisiana, do they not?
I believe so, but I don't know enough about Louisiana recruiting to know an answer. But yeah, they usually play pretty good competition.
Yeah.
I love how that's always like the first question people ask, and it's like one of the things I least care about.
True.
For this type of evaluation. There's other aspects where I care, but not for that particular one. So that's sophomore film, Ryan. And again, you see a kid that can run, you see a kid that's instinctive, you see a kid that is willing to hit, and a kid that flies to the football. And the athleticism thing really, really stands out to me. I'm going to pull up his next game film here. This is, well, not game film, it's game cut-ups, because his junior year stuff was, as I said, there was no like one highlight tape that they put together. It was all just like individual games. So we'll pull some of that and show that here. Same. There was part of the year, if I remember correctly, he had a cast on his hand as well.
So this is a fast trigger right here. Got downhill quick, avoided the block.
He is right here. For those who, because first time I watched it, I had a hard time with that too. He's right here. You see the instincts. Sift through the trash, man. Sift through the trash.
Which is it's a underrated skill, man. It is not an easy thing to always sort through traffic.
Yeah. So this is an interesting play. Again, he's backside here. This may not be what he's trying to show, but look at when he comes up. Look how quickly, Ryan, he plants and gets vertical. Look how loose that is. Or he plants and gets backwards and drops into coverage. That's a very kind of twitchy type of movement there, in my opinion.
Yep. That's to your conversation about being a fluid, smooth kid. Like that's it right there.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like their uniforms too, by the way.
Yep. Stays line his feet. See, I like this. This is that when you hear us talk about lateral quickness, this is an example, right, Ryan? Yep. His ability to kind of work laterally, plant your feet, work, move, explode, but that change of direction. Yeah, there you go. There you go. And that's what we're looking for. And that's what I kind of like want to start doing more of in these shows, Ryan, is kind of pointing out terms that we'll use a lot when we see examples of it, so people can visualize it. This is a nice downhill blitz. Nice little run stunt here.
Run blitz.
Yep. It's got to go lower. He doesn't explode I think this kind of got on him a little quicker than he expected, because he normally does a pretty good job of dipping and ripping through contact, but I think this just got on him pretty quick.
I don't think his angle is great here either. It looks like he kind of hits his upfield shoulder. You kind of want him working a little more inside out on that back hip,
which can happen when you're run stunting. Because a run stunt's different. You're not reading per se. You have a job. You are attacking B gap. And so But yeah, he's going to have to kind of see that and just get a little bit lower, arrive with a little bit more force.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's that game. Get to the next one. Again, this is junior film from Jaiden Ausberry, who, as everyone knows, is I'm a big fan of Jaiden Ausberry, and a lot of things about him too, Ryan, that make him such a great fit for Notre Dame. It's not just the football stuff. I mean, this is a great student. I mean, like Sean Davis. We were kind of talking about him on Saturday, and the thing I said that I kind of joked with Sean about is like, you never talk about Jaiden Ausberry, the football player, because he only ever wants to talk about Jaiden Ausberry, the leader, the captain, all that other kind of stuff. See, this is like saying, I do kind of like his length. I do think he's got some long
This is
arms.
junior film, right?
This is
So,
junior film, yeah.
He looks a little lengthier here to me
Yeah,
than he did.
yeah. That's what I was saying. Like, wait till we
expected.
see his junior film, right? Like, it looked like he got a little bit more something to him there.
Yep. Oh, and I will say this also. I know I'm working a lot on the aesthetics right here, but the white long sleeves as a linebacker is always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. That was a Ryan Roberts original.
Mm-hmm. You can see the foot quickness here. Again, there are times when he needs to get a little bit better at just really using his hips to explode through contact. He does it. He just doesn't always do it. But you see the violence, though. I mean, it's like this back, just like, okay, this back wanted no part of that action. None.
And like you said, he came in. His level was a little high too. He came in high, and the running back still had no shot. No shot.
Right.
Ball skills helps when a quarterback throws it right to you, but still,
but he gets in the track. And there's some, like, you don't see him getting in coverage much on film, and that's where you kind of got to rely on some of the 7-on-7 stuff. Sure. And there's some decent film that I've seen in the past of him in 7-on-7 or 1-on-1s at different camps where you really see him flip his hips and do different things. And the thing is, like, what do you see on other clips, right? Change the direction, loose hips, nimble feet, and he can run.
Well, even that clip, Ryan, in the beginning, he doesn't even move much, but you can just see the looseness. Like, you can just see how springy he is.
Right.
With his steps. There's no wasted movement. Like, that's good foot quickness. Even though he doesn't move that far,
he never flat foots. He
100%.
Never flat foots, and I like that because that's a tendency for a lot of guys is they'll kind of get in that.
Yep. On the
that aspect
with it, get on their heels. Exactly.
Yeah.
Closing speed's fantastic, though. It's fantastic.
Yep. All right, let's get to some more.
Which is so important because I feel like we talk about a lot of guys where they have trouble finishing, right? Like finishing sacks, finishing tackles for loss.
Well, that was a big issue for Notre Dame this year.
Yeah. And usually it comes back to, like, if you're talking about, like, maybe a Drew White who was a good football player, but, like, didn't have great arm length, right? Like, he didn't have a big tackle radius. So you need to be able to have, whether it is outstanding foot quickness or it's a large tackle radius, you need to have the ability to finish. And one thing that I think that translates easy for Ausberry is he's got some exceptional closing speed on him. Like right there. Another run blitz, or it ends up being a pass. But
and he actually has to kind of dip to his right a little bit to get to the hole, like where he's initially his first two steps are not going where he thinks it's going to go. He quickly dips and works into a different angle and then still gets through. That's that instinct. That's another example right here. His initial track is closed, so he quickly cuts in and finds another hole and gets to the quarterback.
And it can be tough sometimes to kind of distinguish what his coverage skills are, because coverage is a lot about feel, right? But I mean, if I'm a high school coach, why am I not blitzing this kid as much as possible?
Right.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah, and you'll see it in some game film, and in game film they don't let him. He doesn't play a lot of man, but what you can see in some of the game film I've seen is he does he really gets good depth in zone coverages. Like, he can really open up and run, which shouldn't be surprising, based on what we know of him. But yeah, he that's going to be a part of his game that's going to have to obviously continue improving. All right, there we go. Now I think this is definitely one of the ones where you can definitely see the cast on his hand. I believe this is the one. Nope, this isn't. Yeah, it is. Here he is on the edge right there with his hand in a big old cast.
Yep, there he is.
Because he's on the edge. Yeah, he's on the edge in this one.
I feel bad for some of these kids he's playing, man.
This is
It's a little disrespectful.
That's a really nice downhill burst right there.
Yep. And like you said, his level's still high, man. Imagine
Yeah.
when he's able to kind of play it at like a little more
Mhm.
bend at the hips. Like it's going to be really, really good.
Yep. Because it's not a lack of athleticism. His technique's not where it needs to be.
Exactly. Like you see him change direction and you're like, there's no flexibility issues there. It's just, it's literally just a level issue.
Yep. So we'll get one more of Jaiden Ausberry, Ryan, and then we'll kind of wrap that up and dive into our mailbag. So if y'all have some questions, feel free to throw them in here. We'll definitely get to those
Yep.
and answer those questions.
I've been starring a few as we've been watching. So if you want to keep throwing in questions, please do.
All right, last one from his junior year, and we will pull this up and watch these last few clips, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. But yeah, Marcus Freeman has definitely changed linebacker recruiting at Notre Dame since he's arrived. Here we go. Sorry about that, everybody. There we go.
Yeah, if they develop linebacker properly, it's about to be linebacker year.
This is one of the few coverage clips, Ryan. You're going to see him come downhill and then flip his hips and open and run when this guy turns and goes up. This is a smart job by the back. Okay, the quarterback's running. You know, short guys that are up front, you go deep. Guys that are deep, you come up, right? And that's what the back does. And Jaiden sees it. He does a nice job playing. See what he's trying to do here. And that's what I like, Ryan. He's trying to bait this cornerback into throwing this ball.
Yep.
Right. He's going to, because he's running on top of the guy. And when you run on top of the guy, it's because you're going to allow yourself to close downhill if that ball gets thrown and step in front of it. Whereas if you try to come too level initially, that's how the ball gets out in front of you, or the guy turns up and then he outruns you. And he does a really nice job here. Really nice job in coverage there.
No, he's just so smooth, man. He's just so like instinctive and smooth, and he's a violent player. I mean, when you have all three of those things, then you're in good shape.
Yep. But yeah, I wish he was a little bit taller.
Sure.
But that's all right, though.
That's even becoming less of an issue at line. I know people always talk about that with quarterbacks, but if you look at some of the linebackers that are getting drafted in the first round now, I mean, you're talking about guys like Devin White, who was 6 foot, Devin Bush, who was 5'11".
Right.
Height is becoming less and less of an issue on the second level as well.